You're actually programming your reality without realizing it. The reality you're living, the 3D world you're currently experiencing, all the circumstances in your life right now, you have crafted, you have programmed, and you have chosen. You are the architect. And whether you're realizing it or not, everything that you are living about your life, loving it, hating it, it is because you have chosen it and you have brought it into this reality. This is going to be part 1 of a mindset esoteric series, let's just say, that I'm going to do. And I am going to try and break down as many of these concepts for you as simply as I can, because I have read over 300 books on self-development, esoteric knowledge, law of attraction, all of this stuff. I've pulled out things that I resonate with. I've tested things. I have thrown away things. I have pulled everything in to craft this blueprint for how I navigate reality. And I think that's the biggest goal. I think that's the biggest reason why we're here. It is to remind you that you are the creator, the architect of this reality, and you can experience it however you want. Everything you're experiencing in your life right now, in your reality, your 3D, whatever you want to call it, you have brought it into existence. You are the architect crafting your day-to-day life. You are the architect that is building this landscape for how you navigate and what experiences you have, the troubles, the setbacks, all of it. You're in control much more than you probably think or believe or realize. And any single thing that you want to have, be, do, experience is in your power to do so. If you don't know who I am, my name's Chanel and I've been a day trader for 10 years now. I'm going to start a series. I'm going to give you that is going to be a master framework of how to hack your reality, how to give you the best reality that you are literally pinching yourself every morning like you are living in a movie, right? I've read over 300 books on this topic, probably many more now, but 300 books, and I've carded them all over New Zealand, all over Australia, while I jet around different places, living in different places, experiencing different realities on a whim just because I want to. And I have installed the key pieces into a very simple to understand framework for you, and I'm going to start sharing it on YouTube. So hopefully you enjoy it. Without further ado, let's continue. First up, we're going to talk about language patterns. Language patterns literally shape your reality. Whether you realize it or not, your internal dialogue is constantly shaping how you see the world, what you believe is possible, and ultimately the results that is creating from it. Now, I've been teaching people how to trade now for the last 2 years, which means I've had a lot of interactions with traders, with students, with people chasing an unconventional life, right? They have big goals. They don't want to be like the masses. They don't want to work for someone else. They want that freedom. These are all people with a similar goal of having financial freedom. And through those 2 years now, I've had loads of conversations and I've noticed a pattern. I've noticed something super interesting, that people say that they want expansion, they want abundance, they want enlightenment, they want freedom, they want millions of dollars, an endless bank account, just more of the good stuff. We want everything. We want our dream life, everything good. But then you start to listen closely to what they're actually saying, and the language that they're using is telling a very different story. I hear a lot of, that's too expensive, I can't afford that, I have to be careful, something always goes wrong for me, it's just not realistic for me, I'm not that kind of person, I'm not good enough with money, I'm not good with money, I don't know how to do this, I wasn't good at school, I wasn't good at math, so I couldn't learn to trade. These phrases can seem harmless, right? They're just throwaway statements. Even a bit of self-deprecating humor. I am one for self-deprecating humor, so this is something I've really had to work on because it is something I do a lot, and it's just based on my upbringing, and that's just how everyone undermined themselves all the time. But they're quietly reinforcing these limitations, and they become the scripts that then run in the background of the movie that is your life. Adam Zealand from Reality Transurfing talks about seeing your life like a movie, like slide. Every slide's a screen from the movie that is your life. If you're constantly using the language like something's too expensive, then what do you think you are saying and putting out there? There is a good example here, something that we started to do. So back in the day, my husband and I would do something called the stretch yourself assignment. So where we are, we have this financial thermostat that's here. This is the band that we all live in, and yours might be high, yours might be lower, but you oscillate between this this level. When you get a little bit more money and you come above this band, you usually find a way to spend it or give it back or something happens. And then when you go down a little bit, you put your foot on the gas, you work extra hard, you tighten your belt, you save. So we have this financial thermostat. One of the ways you stretch this financial thermostat is you stretch yourself into experiences that are a little bit beyond your means. Not all the time, but every now and then. Something my husband and I used to do while we were learning to trade and focused on this financial abundance is we would go to a restaurant that was out of our price range normally, and we would sit down and we would do this not very often, like once a quarter, and we'd save up for it, and we would go and we'd sit down and we would embody the feeling of dining at this like it was like every night, like a normal night of the week. And we would sit down and we would look at the menu, and usually one of the first things we'd say to each other was, man, that's expensive. Like, oh, I really want the seafood tower, but man, that's expensive. Even though we were doing this as an exercise to increase our financial abundance, that was still one of the first things either of one of us said. So we started being super aware of every time we were saying something like that. We'd change that narrative. So now if we sit down in a restaurant and we open the menu, and sometimes it still even gets us now, you'll see something you want to go, that's too expensive, that's so expensive, like who would spend that much money? Change the setting, change the narrative. Now we just say, man, they know how to charge. Damn, they can charge well. Well done to them, they are charging well. And you're changing the narrative. You're not saying something's too expensive. You're just saying, damn, wow, well done for that business, well done for that chef, well done for that. They are charging well. It's a different energy that you're bringing into it, and you're not reinforcing in your life that you can't afford something. Doing this actually matters way more than you think, because your brain is always looking for evidence to confirm what you repeatedly tell it. So your language is always rooted in the doubt or restriction of lack. So for example, if your language is always rooted in doubt, restriction, lack, negativity, pessimism, then your behavior is going to follow suit. You're going to hesitate more. You're going to play smaller. You're going to talk yourself out of opportunities. You're going to always try to find a reason why something wouldn't work for you. There's a constant loop of you always brains trying to confirm the narrative. It's always going to find why something doesn't work. It's always going to ignore an opportunity and focus on the negative. And it's not because you're consciously deciding to. Obviously, you don't want a worse life, right? You want a better life. But because your identity has been shaped around these narratives for so long, that pattern, that negative loop happens automatically. They're doing it without your say-so. It's a huge problem I see, especially people coming into what I do specifically, trading, right? Because they've been sold the dream, they want the dream, they can see the vision of their life. They're probably pretty ambitious people, but one of the biggest patterns is that people immediately start shutting down possibilities with their words. The moment that you label something as unattainable, even for a second, your mind stops exploring the pathway towards it. You scroll something on social media and you see someone promoting their lifestyle, you know there's a lot of the time now this has all been a bit of a scam. The moment you're saying, I can't afford that, you're affirming that there's no way for you to get it. You unconsciously signal to yourself that it's not a part of your reality. And over time, that just becomes true. Not because it has to be true, but because you've accepted it as such. So you're always the person that can't afford to do this, that can't afford to bet on themselves, that can't afford that holiday, that can't afford that nice thing for your family member that you want to buy. You're always just repeating that and affirming that, and eventually that's just the reality that you're living in. Even if something costs $2,000, right, and your bank account at the moment has $500 in it, if this is something that your heart truly desires, you can always access money if you need it, if you really truly want it and need it. You always can. It's always abundant. It's just energy. It's just frequency. It's currency. It's just flowing like a current of water, always for you to tap into. It's there. But you're so used to telling yourself something's out of your price limit or something's too expensive that your brain has stopped now looking for opportunities to increase your income, to increase your ability to attain more money. A more empowered way you can think about this is that there is just a simple shift in your mindset. So instead of closing a door, you're just staying curious. So rather than saying something isn't for you, ask what would it take? How could I grow into that? How could I grow into that kind of person that does this and lives this life? And what skills and what habits would support this? So if you are wanting to become a trader like me, you get, all right, instead of just going, oh, I can't do it, you think about what would it take to live that life? Okay, I have a very great life, right? I wake up, I choose to have slow mornings, I spend time with my family, I work no more than 60 minutes a day, I go to the beach, I do what I want, I travel. It's a lovely, beautiful life I have crafted and built for myself. So if that's a similar life to you, say, what would it take? Well, it takes skill set of learning how to do something that's highly leverageable that I can do from all over the world with all the freedom in the world. So that's what it would take. How could you grow into that? Well, usually you have to learn learn the skill set of trading. You have to learn the strategy. You have to learn how to enter. You have to learn how to exit. You have to learn the right mindset to do that. If it's business that you want to start, how could you grow into that business person? Whatever you want, how could you grow into that? And what skills and what habits would support this? You need to find someone who's got the life you want, and you need to reverse engineer what they do. If they're on social media and they talk about their life and their habits, pay close attention. There's heaps of biographies of uber successful people. You can read their stories. You can reverse engineer what skills and what habits do they do, and you can start doing those. This keeps you just moving forward. You're moving towards the version of yourself that can do it, instead of just retreating back. Rather than saying, it's not for me, I can't do it, I can't afford it, whatever. What would it take? Start thinking through the process. Actually, what would it take for me to be like this, to have this life? And then you got to think about it like you're expanding your identity gradually, not in huge leaps. Growth doesn't happen in these massive leaps. It happens through tiny little expansions consistently. Every single day, 1% better. The small expansion is so much more powerful than like one large leap, one large stretch of the rubber band that snaps back together again. The moments when you gently stretch beyond your comfort zone, that's what's going to work for you. That might be as simple as investing in learning. Buy a book, read from someone who's achieved a life that you want, learn from someone. That's stretching yourself, that's stretching your growth zone, just raising your standards. Stop being around people who are dragging you down. Ignore them, ghost them, spend less time with them. If they're family and you can't, then monitor your time more, raise your standards. So if they don't raise with you, they fall to the wayside. On the same level, spending time around people who operate at a higher level. If you can get within the realm of someone where they are at a higher level of operation, they are doing the thing that you want, by default, some of that energy is going to impact you and it's going to level you up. You need to start making decisions now that are aligning with where you're actually wanting to go, not just the habitual patterns from the past. So if you currently live paycheck to paycheck, meaning you don't have any money, you don't invest, you don't save, you don't whatever, but you want to be someone who has financial abundance and is in control of their financial future, the first thing I would do is take that pay yourself mindset. Even if you can only find $10 a month, whether you can call up your electricity provider and haggle down a slightly cheaper rate because you threatened to go somewhere else, whatever you need to do, find somewhere where you can get even a small amount of money, and then when your paycheck comes in, you invest that either in learning, education, or in the S&P, whatever, some low-cost index fund, whatever you want to do, something where you can pull a little bit, and that's the first thing you do. That is then changing and making a decision that aligns with your future self and not from the habits from the past. And it's not that the small amount really doesn't move the needle, because it doesn't. We need more money, I know, but it's the signal. You're sending the signal to yourself, to your consciousness, that you're evolving and that you're not accepting the status. One of the main things that really changed the game for me and allowed me to level up, and then I fixed this in my mind and things started happening for me quite quickly, was outcomes don't transform you. You transform first and then the outcomes follow. So I always used to think I will be able to do this and be this and experience this once I'm a profitable day trader. That was always, be the trader and then everything else will come. Then I'll have the mindset and the confidence and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't work like that. The self-perception shifts, your actions will naturally adjust. When I decided that I was a consistently profitable trader, when I decided that I was rich, when I had freedom, I had everything I ever wanted in abundance, naturally the universe goes, okay, you've decided that, then that's what we'll give you. You show up differently. You make clearer decisions. You tolerate less noise. You tolerate less negativity. And over time, life is just going to mirror it back to you. Reality is just a mirror and it's showing you back your internal state. And I'm not telling you that that's an easy mindset or that's an easy thing to adjust to. Based on your childhood and your conditioning from the past years of your life, it's probably going to be a somewhat challenging road to start reshaping your mind because your current patterns feel so familiar. Like that's what you do on autopilot. You're not even aware half the time how negative you talk about yourself and about your future and about your circumstances because it just feels safe. It feels normal for you to do that. But staying the same will guarantee that that's where you stay. That's where you are. And if you want new experiences in this life, you want to try it all, you have to allow yourself to grow into the new version of you first. That comes first, always. All right, what's an actionable step you can take today? First thing, start noticing the language that you're speaking. Bring it to the front of mind. Start being aware of how you're talking to your partner, your spouse, your kids, your parents, whoever, your co-workers. How are you talking to people? Listen to how you describe yourself, describe challenges, describe your day, your childhood. Notice how you talk about your future. If people ask even a simple question, what are you doing on the weekend? What did you do last weekend? Most people say, oh, nothing much, same old, the usual, with a bit of a sigh, like there's no zest. That's the pattern you're just repeating next weekend and the next weekend and the next weekend. And when you catch yourself defaulting to limitation, you need to pause. Take a second. I don't care if it's mid-conversation with someone. You need to pause, take a breath, and you need to reframe it. You need to choose the words that reflect the possibility rather than the constraint. You got to change it up. It sounds simple to catch yourself when we're not even conscious of the words we're saying. It takes a little bit of time, but over time, it rewires how you think, how you act, how you show up, and the universe will quite literally change in front of your eyes. So to reflect, to look back on this video, okay? The way you speak to yourself is not just a commentary, okay? Self-deprecating humor is funny. It can break the ice. It's great. But the only person it affects negatively is you. It's instruction, it's direction, it's creation. Everything you're saying, you're instructing the universe. You're instructing your reality. You're the architect instructing the workers, the laborers to build your craft and craft your reality. So be careful what your instructions are. You're giving direction to them. You're giving direction to this reality. So be hyper aware about what you're telling them to do. You are crafting us with your own hands, your own thought, your own language. So be so intentional. Even for a period of time, just be hyper intentional about what you're saying, how you're saying it, what you're thinking about yourself. Because the identity that you are reinforcing through your words is the life that you're just gradually going to step into. So make sure you're reinforcing it how you want to live.